is Rosie Goldsmith, and I'm delighted to be chairing today's conference, No Island is an Island. Telescope in hand, we will be peering at our little island's peculiar relationship with foreign languages from a European perspective. And I must remind you, of course, that Britain is in Europe. And we're going to try and see if it is possible to create a less insular island, at least linguistically. Today is the first day of the London Language Show, a 3-day exhibition attracting, we hope, 10,000 language learners, teachers, translators, and job seekers. We have, by the way, before I go on, we have interpretation in Greek, Italian, and French today, so I hope you've all got your headsets. And even if you don't speak your languages, just have a listen in occasionally, because they're beautiful, of course. But there will be speakers in Greek, Italian, and French. This conference has been organised by the European Commission's Departments for Education and Culture and for Interpretation, under the auspices of Commissioner Androulla Vassiliou, European Commissioner for Education, Culture, Multilingualism and Youth. Now that's quite a long list, but she's an amazing woman and we're absolutely delighted that she's going to launch the conference today. So may I please welcome the Commissioner up to the stage.
Distinguished guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome you all to this conference on language learning in a British and European context. And I'm so pleased for the first time I'm here, and it is indeed very timely, because we want, especially in this country, to encourage language learning. I would like to thank all those who have made this event possible. The European Commission has a strong presence at the London Language Show this year. All those working on multilingualism policy have joined forces to make a strong statement about why languages matter. And today we embark on a 3-day long tribute to how languages open doors to new countries, to different cultures, to life-changing experiences, and to rewarding careers. In most European countries, children begin learning a foreign language at primary school, and more than 60% start learning a second foreign language at lower secondary level. A majority also study 2 foreign languages at higher secondary level, which corresponds to GCSEs and A-levels in this country. Language learning is vital in Europe. We will hear from panelists today how foreign language competences are needed not only by the large multinationals, but increasingly also by SMEs with international marketing strategies, and by public services having to deal with increasingly multicultural and multilingual citizens. I'm delighted to see that in the UK there has been a 16% growth in the number of students taking foreign language GCSEs this year, and this is really encouraging. And next year, the English school authorities will take an important step to consolidate this trend when language learning becomes compulsory from the age of 7. I congratulate them for this initiative. And as I want you to get familiar with some other languages, I will turn into Greek. I'm sure very few of you understand Greek. Σε επίπεδο Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, στηρίζουμε τις προσπάθειες των κρατών μελών για προώθηση της καλύτερης εκμάθησης ξένων γλωσσών και συνεργαζόμαστε μαζί τους για να ορίσουμε ένα ευρωπαϊκό δίκτυο αναφοράς για τις γλώσσες. Για την επίτευξη του στόχου αυτού, στηριζόμαστε στο στόχο που είχε αρχικά τεθεί από τους Ευρωπαίους ηγέτες στη Βαρκελόνη, σύμφωνα με τον οποίο κάθε Ευρωπαίος πολίτης πρέπει να μιλά, 2 τουλάχιστον ξένες γλώσσες και τουλάχιστον οι μισοί μαθητές ηλικίας μέχρι 15 ετών να μιλούν μια ξένη γλώσσα. Ο δείκτης αναφοράς της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης για τις γλώσσες αντανακλά μια συλλογική φιλοδοξία και αφορά το σύνολο των μέτρων που λαμβάνονται από όλα τα κράτη-μέλη. Η κυβέρνηση της Σκωτίας έχει ήδη αυξήσει τη χρηματοδότηση για τη διδασκαλία γλωσσών στα δημοτικά σχολεία με στόχο την επίτευξη μεγαλύτερης πρόοδου προς το ευρωπαϊκό στόχο. Μαζί με άλλες πρόσφατες πρωτοβουλίες, όπως το επίπεδο επιδόσεων English Baccalaureate, το Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο θα είναι σίγουρα σε θέση να συμβάλλει στην επίτευξη πρόοδου προς την κατεύθυνση του δείκτη αναφοράς. Παρόλο που χθες πληροφορήθηκα ότι πιθανότατα, αυτό θα μας το πει εκπρόσωπος του Υπουργείου φυσικά, ότι θα αλλάξει αυτό το σύστημα. Ελπίζω όχι. Εκτός του δείκτη αναφοράς, παρουσίασα επίσης πέρσι στους Ευρωπαίους Υπουργούς Παιδείας μια στρατηγική για την επανεξέταση της εκπαίδευσης και συνέστησα μια προσέγγιση στη διδασκαλία ξένων γλωσσών που είναι περισσότερο προσανατολισμένη προς την επίτευξη αποτελεσμάτων. Τον περασμένο μήνα εγγενίασα επίσης μια πολιτική πρωτοβουλία για την καλύτερη χρήση των τεχνολογιών της πληροφορίας και της επικοινωνίας και των ανοιχτών εκπαιδευτικών πόρων στις αίθουσες διδασκαλίας και η εκμάθηση γλωσσών είναι ένας από τους τομείς που θα μπορούσε να επωφεληθεί τα μέγιστα από τις μεθόδους αυτές. Το Ανοιχτό Πανεπιστήμιο, εδώ στην Αγγλία, είναι πρόδρομος αυτής της κατεύθυνσης και μας δείχνει πώς μπορεί αυτό να γίνει κατορθωτό. Από την επόμενη χρονιά, η Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή θα εγκαινιάσει επίσης το νέο πρόγραμμα Erasmus+ για την εκπαίδευση, την κατάρτιση, την νεολαία και τον αθλητισμό. Το πρόγραμμα Erasmus+ θα προσφέρει τη δυνατότητα μέχρι το 2020 σε σχεδόν 4 εκατομμύρια ανθρώπους σε όλη την Ευρώπη για σπουδές, κατάρτιση ή εθελοντική εργασία σε άλλη χώρα. Από το εν λόγω πρόγραμμα θα μπορούν να υποφεληθούν όχι μόνο φοιτητές, αλλά μαθητευόμενοι, εκπαιδευτικοί, διοργανωτές δραστηριοτήτων για νέους, οι λεγόμενοι youth workers και άλλοι πολλοί. Η διεθνής εμπειρία είναι ο καλύτερος τρόπος για να ενισχυθεί η απόκτηση γλωσσικών δεξιοτήτων, ενώ παράλληλα τονώνει την αυτοπεποίθηση και προσφέρει και άλλες κοινωνικές δεξιότητες που τη χάνουν ιδιαίτερης εκτίμησης από τους εργοδότες. Ladies and gentlemen, English is lingua franca. As a lingua franca is a mixed blessing. Too many people believe that English is enough to get by everywhere and in any situation. In a world where knowledge of English is more or less taken for granted, job seekers who also know other languages will have a competitive edge. I am convinced that the thousands of young people who will visit a language show this weekend will be inspired by it and will see for themselves all the many benefits that learning a foreign language brings. I know that many of you who are here today are already active in spreading this message through your respective network, and for that I am truly, truly grateful. Together we can bring about a real change and inspire more people to learn languages. So, with these words, I wish you a very successful conference, and I hope that by the end of the conference we will all be more inspired in carrying on with our efforts to spread language learning and teaching. Thank you very much.
We have a keynote speaker now, and we have Jan Stockwell with us, and Jan is standing in actually for Elizabeth Truss MP and will explain all. And we're delighted to have Jan Stockwell with us, who is Assistant Director for Curriculum Policy with special responsibility for languages. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First, may I apologise to you on behalf of my Minister, Elizabeth Truss, for the fact that you have me today instead of her. I'm very sorry that unavoidable parliamentary business means that she is required to sit in the House of Commons today. She was very much looking forward to this conference, as the teaching and learning of languages in schools is a subject that's very close to her heart. I shall therefore give you her speech today as she had planned to deliver it, including her personal reflections. And if you'd like to close your eyes and pretend I'm her, I won't be offended.
Do it in French and German.
So, vielen Dank für die freundliche Einführung. Ich freue mich, an dieser Konferenz teilzunehmen, ein so wichtiges Thema zu diskutieren. Wie Sie sehen können, nehme ich meine Pflichten ernst. But much as I'd love to continue auf Deutsch, I think I'd better switch to English. All around us, the world is changing fast. Ever more sophisticated technology is knitting cultures, countries, and continents ever closer together. People roam around the globe for holidays, study, and employment in a way that would have been unimaginable even half a century ago. As globalization marches on, young people in this country and abroad face a future of competing for every single job, university place, and career opportunity. In such a competitive marketplace, it's never been more important to be able to speak languages beyond one's own. But for far too long, our education system has allowed too many young people to leave school as monoglots. And this skills gap doesn't just hurt young people's life chances, it's hurting our employers, our businesses, and our economy as a whole. Just the other week, hosting a business forum in my constituency, one seasoned exporter explained to me how crucial language skills have been for his business. He's an incredibly impressive businessman, the head of a local engineering firm manufacturing airport security technology, which he is selling all over the world. But as he himself spoke nothing but English, he needed to hire a new sales manager fluent in Spanish to unlock these foreign markets. According to a report by the Education and Employers Task Force, poor language skills are costing the UK £7.3 billion a year in trade, while research by the British Chambers of Commerce, the British Academy, and others has identified what they call a vicious circle of monolingualism. So what went wrong? After the previous government ended compulsory languages at GCSE, the number of young people studying languages in this country plummeted year after year. The fall was catastrophic. The number sitting modern foreign language GCSEs dropped by more than 200,000 between 2002 and 2010. In 2001, 79% of children in this country studied a modern foreign language at GCSE. In 2011, just 40% did. No wonder, then, that the European Survey on Language Competencies rated English pupils among the worst in Europe at languages. Just 1% of English students are able to follow complex speech in another language, far below the European average of 30%. In other words, our young people are not just missing out on the pleasures and challenges of learning another language, immersing themselves in another culture, extending their understanding of the world around them, they're being condemned to compete for jobs and university places with one hand tied behind their backs. The good news is that the years of freefall are over. This government is determined to put languages back at the heart of our education system, and to make sure that every young person in the country enjoys a rich and rewarding language education. The earlier children become comfortable and confident speaking another language, the more quickly they become fluent, and the more likely they are to continue with languages at GCSE and beyond. That's why, from next September, children will start to learn languages much earlier in their school career, from the age of 7. What is extremely encouraging is that it has achieved almost universal support. When we consulted on our plans this last year, 91% of people supported the proposal and just 3% disagreed. Schools are already starting to prepare for change, and the policy has prompted some real interest from organisations like the Japan Foundation, which is running a fantastic campaign encouraging primary schools to offer Japanese. Their primary Japanese campaign is offering a range of training courses and workshops, specialist teaching resources, and immersion courses for non-native speakers. And they're aiming to train 200 primary teachers of Japanese in the coming year. Embassies and cultural institutions from many European countries are getting involved too. The cultural section of the French Embassy, the Goethe Institute, and the Spanish Consejería are already offering schools specialist support to help them teach these languages effectively. This is exactly the sort of innovation and collaboration that we want to encourage in schools, and I hope that they will become more widely used by more teachers of more languages in more schools. At secondary, we've introduced new, more rigorous programs of study at Key Stage 3 to drive up standards, and we're reforming GCSEs to make them more rigorous and more stretching. We want language GCSEs to explicitly include translation from and into the language, more exposure to literature and other authentic sources, and greater understanding of some of the different types of written and spoken language which will be the most relevant to future study and employment. Just as important is encouraging schools and pupils to choose languages in their GCSE options. That is why, in 2010, this government included languages in the English Baccalaureate, a new measure encouraging pupils to study the core academic subjects which universities and employers most value. 2 years later, we saw that as a result, the proportion of pupils taking language GCSEs increased, the first rise since languages were made optional in 2004. The numbers keep on getting better. In 2013, GCSE take-up increased by nearly 16% on 2012, reaching the highest level for 5 years. Compared to the previous year, French entries rose by 15.5%, German by 9.4%, and Spanish by 25.8%. And it looks as though the trend is continuing. A report by Ipsos Mori has shown that more than 50% of pupils are set to take a language GCSE in 2014. These improvements are encouraging, but there's still further to go. In the coming weeks and months, we want to move away from the multilingual carousel, where children at some schools study a different language every year or half a year and end up leaving primary school with a smattering of each, a proper understanding of none. Instead, we want primary schools to teach a single language from 7 right through to 11, giving them 4 years of study to develop their listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills to a high level. All too often, the multilingual approach means that children get stuck on very basic vocab and structures, never getting beyond numbers, colours, and pets before moving on to another language. It's great to be able to ask the way to the bookshop in 5 languages, but it won't help you understand the books once you get there. But evidence from abroad shows that the most high-performing countries choose a single language model as the best way to instill deep knowledge and understanding. And Ofsted's report into Modern Languages Achievement and Challenge in 2011 showed that outstanding schools in this country overwhelmingly studied one main language at primary. So our new primary language curriculum explicitly says that teachers should focus on enabling pupils to make substantial progress in one language. By focusing on just one, children are given time and space to reach a decent level of fluency early on, giving them confidence that they're good at languages and encouraging them to continue with a subject for longer. We also want primary and secondary schools in a local area to collaborate, making sure that they offer the same languages, helping pupils to move smoothly and effectively between the two and giving them the best possible chance to succeed. Many schools are already doing this successfully. Some of the lead teaching schools for languages, for example, are working closely with other schools within their alliances to improve the language skills of teachers and pupils alike. In some, secondary teachers are working with primary colleagues from a number of different schools in the alliance, helping to strengthen their subject knowledge and to make their teaching as good as it can possibly be. In others, teachers from several different secondary schools are coming together to swap good practice and share ideas and resources. This isn't something we can dictate from Whitehall and Westminster. It needs to be sorted out at a local level, but it could make a huge difference in helping young people to get to grips with languages right from the beginning. We're also concentrating on driving up standards at the end of school. A-level entries today are lower than 10 or 15 years ago, and the number of young people taking A-level languages dipped again this year, while the number of UK universities offering single or joint honours language degrees has fallen. But this year's huge rises in GCSE entries should filter through to A-level numbers, and we expect a stronger pipeline of language students to stop or even reverse the fall in higher education courses. We're taking steps to reform language A-levels to better prepare students for studying languages at degree level and beyond. And representatives from the Russell Group and other higher education institutions and learned societies are advising on how to make sure that language A-levels are rigorous, demanding, and provide the best possible preparation for further study. So in conclusion, in today's world, languages aren't a luxury, they're an essential. For young people themselves, for universities, employers, and our economy as a whole. By starting languages earlier, concentrating on fluency and confidence, raising standards at secondary and encouraging greater take-up at GCSE and beyond, we want to end England's disastrous language drought and prepare the next generation to go out in the world with confidence and reach their full potential. Thank you.